All right. Well, welcome into the show today, everybody. It is Friday, the 12th of August, 2016. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at aaronmontgomery.info. As always, I'm joined by my very good friend, Terry Combs, who's with Equipment Zone, and you can also find him over at terrycombs.com. Terry, how you doing today?
Hey, doing great, Aaron. Beautiful Phoenix, Arizona again. Heading out here over the weekend, but hey, we're having monsoon. I guess family's probably been telling you that. So for anybody who doesn't know, monsoon is a misnomer here in Phoenix. It means a big burst of really, really dusty wind, followed by about 30 minutes of rain. And we call it monsoon. So our apologies to everybody in Southeast Asia who actually has real monsoons where it starts raining, and 3 months later it stops. So.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little different there, but yeah, everybody's car gets a little dirty, and then the next day you wake up and it's like it never rained.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. So what else is going on, Terry?
Well, I'm teaching a class this weekend at Workhorse Products. My regular screen printing class on Saturday and Sunday. And as soon as that ends, I'm going to come home, pack my bag, and leave on Monday for the MBM show in Baltimore. These shows are getting longer for me now, because I leave on Monday, set up for our all-day Epson seminar on Tuesday, do the all-day seminar on Wednesday, and then right back in the show Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the trade show. So I'll be it's going to be a whirlwind because flying out on Saturday night and laying back in Phoenix or Mountain Standard Time about 11:30 at night, and so it's going to make for a long week, but it should be good. And those all-day NBM NBM Epson seminars have been really productive. People really love all the information. You can really dig down deep, into a subject, just like we've been doing here on the show. These deep dives. Doing a 7-hour seminar, you can really, really drill down and share a lot of information. So looking forward to doing that on Wednesday, and we'll tell everybody about the website and how to get your free pass, that sort of thing, at the end of the show.
Sounds great.
How about you, Aaron? I know you've got some exciting things going on this week.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. A lot of stuff in the personal life. Not mine, but my 5-year-old. Today was kindergarten orientation day for him, and he's all excited. He got to meet his teacher today, and we spent a good chunk of the morning there. They really do it up, especially for the kindergarten class. So everybody's really comfortable, and I think it was pretty entertaining. Though I think parents are probably more anxious and uptight than the kids were. The kids were kind of like, "Okay, see you later." And, parents are like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm leaving my kid here," and all that kind of stuff. So, and I just thought it was also fairly interesting, just all of the stuff that goes on, with you got to, have a teacher walk the kid onto the bus, and, the bus driver is going to make sure that there's somebody, that the parents are there when the kid gets off the bus, and the name tags and the this and that and the other thing. I was just thinking, boy, I know this makes me sound old, but I think my parents, I actually walked to and from kindergarten, and it was a few blocks away, and I got home and my parents weren't there. And then when I did ride the bus, it was my responsibility to get to the bus. And
right. So, exactly.
Little different world today.
I'll date myself a little bit on this, Aaron, because when I started school, and I was living in Saltville, Virginia, and we didn't have kindergarten. We started right into first grade. There was no kindergarten in that part of Appalachia.
Yeah. Well, the kindergarten teacher was saying today that the kindergarten is really more like first grade now. They're expected to know a lot more math and other subjects and reading and writing and stuff like that. So, we were really fortunate that we got to send our son to a daycare that was more like a school than a daycare, and so he's gonna do really well, but we'll just have to keep working with him, and it's a big jump, but I think he's pretty darn excited. And part of the excitement was that he got 3 new T-shirts today. So he got a library T-shirt, he got the leadership T-shirt, that they get to wear on leadership days, and then the school spirit T-shirt. So $30 later, he has 3 new T-shirts.
Rolls right into our show. My daughter, my youngest, who's still in school, she's a sophomore this year, and she came home and she started this week as well. And first thing she said when she came home was, "Gosh, the freshmen, they're all so little." So, being a year away from that.
Yeah, exactly. That was you. That's funny. Yeah. So it was pretty neat. He, like I said, he got his T-shirts, and first thing I did was check out the printing on them to make sure that the screen printing was done appropriately, and it was actually very good. We talked about them in last week's show. The company that does the printing up there, they're called Shirt Kong, and I was very impressed with their printing. The lines were nice and tight and clean, and ink looked like it was cured, and good. So we'll see after we washed it a few times. That's the trick there. But
we've talked about these guys a couple of shows now. We're going to have them on and have them tell us about their business.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think it's a good idea. So, but as I got really fired up by our talk last week. Our program talking about the school markets and stuff like that. So. My mind was spinning as I'm sitting there looking at all these T-shirts and these nice ladies selling the T-shirts, and so I've got some things in my head bouncing around like crazy. I'm trying to get them to be a little more clear, but I think I'm going to put together a nice program for anybody out there that is printing shirts for their schools. Get in touch with me, because I'm going to put together a program where you can add some other things without having to do anything but sell them. I don't know if it's going to be a fanny pack, or if it's going to be a clipboard, or it's going to be a bag, a backpack, or something along those lines. But I'm going to come up with, 5 to 10 really good products that the parents or the kids would want that are sublimated. And I'm going to put a little program together where you can make money, the school can make money, and I can move some pieces. So, for Pick the Gift through the stuff that I'm working on with them. So
I love your inspiration from the show last week. When you mentioned giving a clipboard, that's a great idea, to give a little, like for the teacher or the advisor or whoever like that. It's always a good idea to have something extra to motivate them. And I remember when I would used to do a lot of softball and baseball shirts. I would always give them a bat bag, give the team a bat bag to take. Well, I print their logo on one side, whatever the logo was is on the T-shirts, and really big on the other side was my logo. So half the teams at the games had that bat bag that had my logo on the side of it. So it was something great that they wanted to have, very inexpensive, and I got a lot of good promotion out of it.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah. Like I said about the clipboards, those are definitely my, when I used to coach volleyball, I'd been known to break a few clipboards in my day. But as soon as I made myself, as soon as I got a sublimation clipboard that had the team information, club logo and my name on it, that bad boy was pristine and never got even set roughly onto the ground. So,
well, hey, I'm going to do a little sublimation promotion for you because I do have my 2 regular guys mug that you gave me. So there's a little bit of promotion for your promotional products.
There you go. Well, heck, you're becoming quite the sublimation guy yourself, I see. So nice article in Impressions Magazine, tips about all over garment decorating with sublimation. So good stuff
They probably should have asked somebody that actually has experience with all over print like yourself. But I've been writing for Impressions Magazine. I think my first article was in 1991. So they had a short window. We need an article really quick, and we need a bunch of pictures. Can you do it? I'm like, I can. So
awesome. Well, it was really good. So nice job on that, Terry.
All right. Well, hey, before we dig further into this, Aaron, let's remind our regular listeners that 2 regular guys. Well, not remind our regular listeners. Remind everybody else. Our regular listeners know this, that 2 regular guys is all about garment decorating, personalization. We have a lot of fun. We never have rants. We never have lectures. And we've been doing the show for 3 years now. So I was just telling somebody, I went and met some friends for dinner a couple of nights ago, and they were asking all about the podcast, and they're like, what do you talk about for an hour for over 3 years? I'm like, gosh, the subjects keep coming. But Two Regular Guys is the most popular, the most listened to garment decoration industry podcast on the planet. And, we're humbled by the number of people that listen to us every week, and we really appreciate it. And we work really hard to get, a lot of great information for you and your business. And if you want to make suggestions for programs, go to Two Regular Guys. It's the number 2, regularguys.com. And if you're listening to us on a social media outlet, please be sure to give us a great review there, especially on iTunes. And that's the way people find us. So before we dig in, that's a little bit about Two Regular Guys.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And like you said, we do work pretty hard to bring you all this stuff, between you and I trying to track down guests and work on different topics and things like this. It's a ton of fun, and we really enjoy doing this, but we certainly put in the effort, and we'll talk about at the end of the show some of the other shows we've got coming up. Actually, we've had some nice things fall into place here, so exciting stuff. But one of the other things, Terry, is we really couldn't do this for 3 years without the sponsors that we've had, and the longtime sponsor that we've had is Equipment Zone. And if you happen to be checking out the video version of this on YouTube or later on Blab, you can see their website right above us here. But we're going to hear a quick word from Equipment Zone here.
Right, Aaron. The subject this week is using slow time to build your business. Now, you and I did an entire show on this back in July, where we talked about buying new equipment, adding staff, adding shifts, all kinds of production floor improvements that you can make. And the last subject that we had to talk about was going to be promotion and marketing for a new season. And of course, as commonly will happen, we didn't quite get to that subject. So, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, the slow times, the down times for business are going to vary depending on what your market is and who you're selling to. And we talked about this back in July. Nobody has that business concept that's just a flat line straight across. Everybody has peaks and valleys, and when you're in the valleys, we want you to kind of take a look at what you're going to do to improve your business for the following season. So what we want to do now is we want to finish up and talk about promoting your business and promoting your product line.
Yeah. No, that's great stuff, Terry. And yeah, so why don't you start us off by maybe let's kind of talk about reviewing what we've done. You got some great points there.
Yeah, we kind of broke this out into 3 sections, and the first thing is you want to break down what you do to market your business, whether it costs you money or whether it's something you do for free, and you kind of have to put your thinking cap on a little bit, because it's a lot more than just buying an ad in the local newspaper or doing a radio ad or something like that. There's all the obvious thing, the paid ads and your social media interaction, but there's also things like, giving away free shirts and hats. You put flyers in your boxes. That's the way you promote your business. You put your name on your boxes. You sponsor events. You sponsor teams. So what we want to do is take a look at all the ways that we have spent the past year promoting our business and then going from there. And Aaron, you're our resident marketing guy. So as we were discussing over Skype earlier today, I think you're going to be picking up the ball and running with this one.
Well, appreciate that. I'll go with it until you decide you're going to take that over too. So, no, just kidding. I'm totally teasing with you on this, Terry. It's just fun at this point for me. So thanks. So all those things that you just said, really important to the whole marketing piece. Breaking it down to cost and time really is the 2 things that you want to kind of look at. That those are things that we can measure. So but you may even want to back up a little bit further than that and make sure really know who your customers are and kind of understand who your target customers are. And this is always a challenging thing for a lot of people because, I think we all want business and we all say, I'll take any customer, anybody that's got, a wallet and some money in it. So, but that's not what I'm talking about here. It's who you're focused on, who your target customers are. We're not going to turn away the people that fall outside of this, but we're going to focus our efforts on these folks. So you need to review that. And, a really good way, if you're already in business, to kind of hone in on that target customer is to review your current customers. Go through all of your top customers there and figure out which ones of them are ideal for your business, and kind of make sure you fully understand who they are. Are they, what are their interests? What's their business all about? Where do they hang out? Where do they spend their time? All that kind of fun stuff. So, you find those customers that you have right now that you want more of, or you might want more from them. You don't want to pick out a customer that, you hate doing business with, and they might just be a decent customer. You want to find that customer you love doing business with, and they're a decent customer, and then focus your efforts around customers like that. So, you can then use that information to compare and analyze what you want to do. And then that helps lead to your target customer. So now we can then go back and take all those things that you talked about just a second ago, the flyers in the box, the social media ads, the free shirts and sponsoring events and things like that, and say, okay, what did sponsoring that event do for driving more customers like this customer here? So that would be, one step back there to kind of get to point A.
Right. It's funny, Aaron, because, I do a lot of entry level classes in both screen printing and direct to garment printing. And I'm always talking to the people in the class, and interacting with them to kind of get a feel for where they are and what they're trying to do. And I always get a kick out of the person when I say, well, who's your customer? Who's your target market? And the ones that come back and say, well, everybody. Everybody's my customer. Everybody's my target. I want to sell to everything. I want to sell everybody. I want to sell everything there is, and I want to print everything there is, and decorate every item. And you're just spinning in circles. If you do that. If you want to be successful, you really gotta focus. And it's one of those self-help kind of things where they say, okay, define your goal, and then everything you do, ask yourself, am I moving toward my goal or away from my goal? That applies here. That was my thought as you were explaining that about defining that customer is sponsoring that team moving me towards that target market I want, or is it not? Because if it's not, you're just throwing money out the window. Hey, if your kid's on the team, I get that. But that is not that's no longer promotion. That's a donation.
Exactly. No, it's a really good point. And honestly, I asked the same thing at trade shows for years, when people would come up and say, especially when I was with Coastal, because we had so many different decorating options and methods, first question when somebody would say, well, what's right for me? Well, who's your target customer? Oh, well, I'm going to sell to everybody. All right. Well, unfortunately, then you're going to have to buy everything. I mean, that's the only way you're going to do that. So,
yeah, exactly. So, well, I think that all of our regular listeners know that we are strongly in favor of finding that niche market and owning that niche market, and those are the folks that are successful.
Yep, agreed.
Well, so Aaron, could you give us some examples of things that a company could look at and look at kind of define the promotional methods that people are using, and then help determine, how do I determine the result of that marketplace, determine the result of that promotion that I'm doing?
Yeah, no, that's definitely that's the part that you said at the end there too, the determining of the results. That was the key there to me. I think a lot of times we think about marketing, we think about what we can do, and hey, we're going to, be out there in front of people, and we're going to get our message across, and so on and so forth. But real true marketing is about the data and the measuring and the making sure that you're spending those marketing dollars and hours wisely. So the key there is focusing on the things, and the only way we can know what things we're supposed to focus on is by being able to measure them somehow in some way, shape, or form. So one of the areas, and we talked about trade shows a little bit earlier, and in fact, I'm going to go slightly off on a little tangent here, but I just found it interesting that, as you and I have talked about your experience from NBM Long Beach, you mentioned that it's been a great show, and it was really, maybe wasn't a ton of people, but a ton of qualified people and good people. And I think that probably has to do with the fact that, you may not have wrote it down on paper and shared it with everybody, but you've done trade shows for long enough that you had a clear plan as to what was going to be successful for you out of that show. And therefore you focused on the right people and talking to the right people and making sure that you did the right things in front of those folks. And because then I've talked to several other people, and I won't name names to
protect the innocent,
protect the not so innocent, but whatever. But they've told me, oh, it was just a horrible show, terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I can see that, because I know how you've done business in the past, and you're just waiting for somebody to walk up, and if they're not pulling out their credit card right then and there, then it's not a good show for you. So it's just definitely one of those things where I think if you've got a good plan in advance, you can make the most of it. So with that being said, that is one of the promotional things that I did want to share. And, we're talking about trade shows where we're selling equipment and supplies and things like that. But that, even if you are a decorator or things like that, there are plenty of opportunities for you to get out there at different, it could be a street market or a fair, or one of the local home shows, or something along those lines. There's an opportunity for you to get your stuff, pack it up, head somewhere, put it out there, and meet and greet people face to face. And I think that those are still key ways to do business and to interact. And honestly, a lot of times those things might not generate something right off the bat, but those are a great way to generate potential business down the road, word of mouth type business. So, now a lot of times those things can be a little bit difficult to measure from a success standpoint, because sometimes, if it's something where maybe you've done that show for a long time and you decide that you're just not going to do it that year, that your absence actually can say a lot more about what's going on with your business than the attendance, or people will read a lot more into that. So those things do happen. But, going back to what I just talked about with the fact that, you had a goal before NBM Long Beach, those are the ways that you've got to go about measuring these things. So, set a clear goal for all of these events, not just the one that you're going to right then and there, and make sure that one goal that you want to have, that could be get new customers. It could be actually writing business, if that's really what your focus is. It could be meeting new people, or scanning leads potentially, if it's that kind of show it's at. But just make sure that it's a trackable piece of information, and that it's the same for every show or event that you do throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, or when it's time to review again, what you do is you take that overall cost, everything that it cost you, not just for the booth or for the bits and pieces, but the travel there, the hotel, the food,
right.
Hey, I blew up my generator and I had to buy a new one. All that cost gets built into whatever that show is. Maybe that particular show had some issue and you had to buy a new tent, or I don't know what the case may be, but every single cost that goes into that, you take that all and you lump it into one big piece, and then you take that number and you divide it by whatever it was that your goal was. So if my goal was to scan leads and you walked away with 300 leads from that show, you divide whatever your cost was by the leads, and that's how much each of those leads cost you. And then you do that for every show, and you can take those shows and stick them next to each other and go, okay, well, this one cost me $10 a lead, but this one cost me $50 a lead. maybe I need to either refocus here on the $50 leads and make sure that I'm, maybe that show's a little bit different than the other show. So I have to have my presentation be a little bit different to get those same leads. Or maybe it's just a show that I don't want to do anymore. That was one of the things that I did early on at Coastal, was take a look at all the shows that they were doing and put those numbers to them, and realized very quickly that we were going to shows that we probably didn't need to be going to, and we were missing shows that we should have been going to. So those are.
Well, and Aaron, I think that when you quantify it that way, also, you're always surprised, and because most people run their businesses in every part of their business kind of by the seat of their pants, and they base the success of a show on how they felt, and if I'm going to go back to the NBM show in Long Beach, if I base that show on, how, my feeling of, gosh, that was not a really great attended show, and without going back and saying, okay, here's how much business we physically wrote. I talked to 2 customers from that show today, and so here we're a month out, and I'm still talking to potential customers from that event. So, but yeah, so you have to quantify it, and when you do that, sometimes you're really surprised that maybe that show that in your mind you thought wasn't that great event, maybe it might have been your best event. But you have to be able to quantify it in a way that you can compare to the other types of promotions. And one more thing about street fairs and things like that. I've talked to so many people who they have a regular storefront and they have a regular business, but they'll do 3 or 4 or 5 of these events a year. And I've had people tell me, over that weekend show, I'll do about $10,000 in sales. Well, I don't know about you, but I'll take $10,000 in sales any day, especially selling at retail at a street fair that I spent 2 days doing. So, that if you aren't doing those types of things, it's probably something you should take a look at. Because our products, most of the products that all of us sell, totally. Have that.
No, I agree.
Have that appeal.
And actually, go back to what you were saying about the quantifying it and that the feel. That's not to say that your gut feel on what's going on isn't something you should listen to. I think what I think what you're saying and what I'm saying is that take that gut feel, but make sure you have some data to back it up. That way, you're not, like you said, you could have easily just wrote that thing off and said, oh, this is terrible. But now that you're still generating business from it, now you can look at that very clearly for next year and say, hey, it's okay that it was lightly attended. It was well attended from the people that I need to talk to your target business. Yeah, so that's a good thing, and I'm glad we dug deeply into that. Right. So one other promotional example to focus on, we've talked a lot on this show with folks like Christine Shreve and others about social media. In fact, I could and have done entire shows about social media and marketing on them, and I know.
Well, those shows kind of hurt my feelings sometimes, Aaron. as poster child for how to not do social media.
You have gotten better over the years, so it's kind of hurting my seminars because I don't have a good example anymore of what not to do. So if you could go back to the other way, that would be great. But really, so what I'm trying to get after here is, with the social media thing, it's mainly about your time and focus. So, I won't dig too deep into the specifics of social media here because, like I said, that's really probably worth the whole entire show. And I think we've covered a lot of it. We can come back to some specifics later on down the road if we want to. But when we're talking about the measurement piece of it, social media, as we all know, as anybody that's, maybe was on Facebook today knows, there's way too much noise out there. The political noise or the cat video noise or whatever the time waster is, that day. it's hard to get over that noise. And so, I think that's what can be daunting for some folks when they get into social media. But what you really have to do is you have to be consistent. You have to measure what you're doing, and then you have to tweak what you're doing along the way, because that, especially that particular medium, changes so frequently. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that everybody wanted to be on Twitter or something like that. And then that shifted, then everybody wanted to be on Facebook, and then Facebook decided that now you're going to have to pay to play. And, there was a time where Google Plus had a bunch going on, and now it's like a ghost town, and, who knows what's going to be next. You've got this Pokemon Go thing going on out there. And so maybe augmented reality becomes the new social media. And,
I have to tell you, Aaron, I was at the grocery store a little earlier, but between regular work and doing the show tonight, and at the checkout there was a 100-page magazine on Pokemon Go, and I'm like, wow, who put that together that quickly?
One of the folks that does some of the production at Pick the Gift was telling me today that she was pretty disappointed in the fact that she couldn't find a lot of Pokemon Go lunchboxes or backpacks for her kid, so we ended up making one there at Pick the Gift. And I'm like, well, I know you're a little disappointed in it, but it really didn't start that long ago, so people just haven't got there yet. Hopefully it stays around long enough for them to make some money on it.
Brick and mortar places can't react quite as quickly as all of we can,
absolutely.
With the ability to do.
But anyhow, like I said, so with the fact that it's ever changing, it is very important that you're measuring very closely and that you're tweaking along the way. So, use a service like my favorite service is a service called Hootsuite, HOOTSUITE. They have a free version that works great for most people. Their paid version does even more for you, and gives you even more tools in your tool belt there. And it's really not that much. I think it's like $15 a month or something like that. So to me, it's well worth it. I use it very regularly and allows you to schedule things out, but it also helps you track your engagement. You can set it to auto schedule, so it picks the best time to post based on an algorithm of knowing when your followers are online, and things like that. So, using tools like that really help. But then, again, going back to the beginning of all this, you've got to set your goal for why you're using social media to begin with, before you start any of this stuff. So, my suggestion is set that goal. And then, unlike what we talked about with the fairs and stuff, where you take that dollar figure, with social media, you take the time figure. So you track all the time that you spend focused on social media, whether that's scheduling posts or reacting or interacting or whatever. And you take that time, and then maybe your goal was new customers. So you take that new customer number, divide by the amount of time, and that's how much time it took you per new customer. And again, you could potentially do the money part, and sure you can. And I would also go so far as to say you should pay every now and again to boost your posts on social media, especially Facebook and even Twitter. But social media at the end of the day is really about the time and effort you spend on being consistent with it, and just trying to stay out in front of it. So there's another trackable piece there.
Well, in social media too, Aaron, it kind of fits in the same category really as trade shows too, because trade shows give you that opportunity to get face-to-face, like you had said earlier. And social media really does the same thing, gives you that opportunity to get face-to-face with people, not physically face-to-face, but as Christine Shreve has told us many times here on the show, it's about building relationships.
Absolutely.
And
that's a really good point.
That's the ideal scenario there. Well, the next area, Aaron, after we take a look at what we've done in the past and how to really take a look at how we can track it, we want to budget time and money for a new season. So let's talk about some areas there. And One thing that it's kind of a maybe it's a pet peeve for me is, when people will say to me, well, I don't need to advertise sweatshirts in the fall because I'm already selling sweatshirts. Well, really? You mean you're selling them because people are in the market for them? So talk a little bit about tell us a little bit about promoting specific products and specific events and seasons.
Well, that right
when your
there is
customers
actually a
in
very
the
good
market
point,
for those
Terry. Is that
products.
just because you're already selling sweatshirts doesn't mean that you shouldn't be marketing them. That, like I said, that means people are in the market for them, and unless you're selling billions and billions of them, you're probably not selling to everybody. So why not take advantage of that opportunity? But this area is definitely an area where it will get me back to my soapbox, so to speak, here, and I think we can all do better at this. And although I might be on my soapbox, I'm also jumping down from occasion to be yelled at myself here, because I'm just as guilty of this as others. But if you have your marketing plan in advance, I guess one of the things that I've seen happen, and I've done myself, is every year this happens to people, where you have this wonderful idea, you have this, we got to do this, but Father's Day has already passed, and so it's going to be another 10 months before it comes around. So you're like, okay, well, I'll remember that, no problem. Such a great idea. And then all of a sudden, it's the day before Father's Day, and you go, oh crap, what about that great idea that I had about promoting something for Father's Day here? Well, you know what? Father's Day is tomorrow, so let's get right on this. Let's throw something together. It was such a clever idea. I'm just going to throw this together. And then what ends up happening is you throw it together last minute, and it just becomes an epic fail. So it could have been a good idea, but it's going to show up as a fail. And then you're not going to do something like that again, because you go, oh man, remember how bad that was? Well, it was bad because you didn't plan ahead and you didn't have a plan of attack. So, understanding what the ebbs and flows of your business are by having a marketing plan and a schedule of things is extremely important to do, and lay out what the seasons are. Maybe your big times are Father's Day and Mother's Day and then the holidays and things like that. So plan out in advance what those things are, because, for a lot of us, so now I'm talking from the decoration side, we've got to be out in front of those things. Kids are going back to school now. I should have been selling my back to school stuff before. So, we did it on Two Regular Guys. Our show last week probably should have been a couple weeks before that. So anyhow.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting too. When you talk about planning ahead, like mine isn't exactly a marketing plan, but I have my schedule book. I've got a little schedule book. I've got my computer bag, and that's where I make notes of things like my flight information and all that kind of thing. Because I travel quite a bit, as you know, and so all that information is in this little schedule book. But I also have another schedule book. It's an 8.5 by 11, and it opens up, and I open it across, and it's 2 pages across for January, and 2 pages across for February, and 2 pages across for March. And that's where I pencil in every trade show, every class that I'm going to do. Everything is in there, and I can flip through there, and it's not where I'm making notes. I have to do this or I have to do that. But it's my schedule for the entire year. And then when somebody says to me, hey, do you think you might be able to do your class for me in the next couple of months? I can go, yes, here I have an opening, here I have an opening. And it's kind of the same thing when you're scheduling your marketing. That Father's Day idea, so a month before Father's Day, that should be penciled in for next year. And then you're going to use that as your guide for your next year's schedule of marketing as well. And, Aaron, along those lines, we took a look at what we did last year, and some of the things didn't necessarily work. So talk to us a little bit about cutting or revising what didn't work last year. Be funny
here and ask if this is your scheduling or something like this, a phone, but never mind.
So
Yeah, all right.
it's
Well, for those of you that are
Aaron,
watching the video portion, you'll get a kick out of that. But no, Terry's still a pen and paper guy, and I love him about that. So
I, I buy mechanical pencils by the box, and
mechanical
I buy
pencils, even
yellow
that's even
legal
better.
pads by the dozen.
All right. Well, that's actually very telling about you, Terry. I use a pen, so once it's on paper, it's done. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, Terry. Well, so what you're saying is cutting or revising what didn't work, and that's a really good point too. I think we kind of get this groove going. Okay, I've really bought in. I've got my marketing plan. We're doing this, and here's my structure. And okay, I'm reviewing it. I'm revising it a little bit. But I'm just going to kind of keep carrying this forward. I'm keep rolling it. And we end up kind of doing things over and over again just because, one of my favorite, I don't know what you call those things, but where they kind of got a picture and then there's some sayings on it, some motivational type sayings. I'm not coming up with the name of those right off the top of my head here, but one of my favorite ones was a picture of a guy during the running of the bulls, kind of getting gored by one of the bulls, being flipped up into the air, and across the top it says, just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean that it's not incredibly stupid. and I think you can apply that to business. I think you can apply that to your marketing. Again, just because it's something you've always done doesn't mean that you have to always do that. So it is real important to take a good, honest look at those things and cut them out. Maybe it's time to stop placing that yellow page ad. I don't know, certain things like that maybe, try it out without doing it. And, if all of a sudden your phone stops ringing, okay, I'm pretty sure the yellow page guy would be happy to take your call and put your ad back in there. So, and I don't know. It may be maybe automated. I still haven't seen yellow pages in so long that it's hard to say.
You get like 8 of them on your front porch.
No longer. So, and then what you'll find out is occasionally from time to time, maybe your marketing budget's going to be a little bit smaller this year, and that doesn't mean that you're going to do less business. That just means that you're going to be more efficient with it, and maybe try some different things, and that's really okay. It's not like it's a government budget where if you don't use it, you'll never get it back. This is something where you throw it into your budget for next year. It's okay to cut things. So I think that's one thing that sometimes people lose is we always want to be adding and adding and adding and adding. Well, maybe you need to cut some of the fat too while you're at it. So that's a good point there, Terry.
Well, and Aaron, I think a lot of it too is, there's two things. One is it's easy to keep going with what you already did because, you already have that scheduled. You already had it planned out, and stopping to sort through it and think about it and put some, quantify what I accomplished with it takes work. It takes time. And sometimes it's just easier to let it slide. And the flip side of that is being afraid of change. And that's a real curse in business because it's a very common curse that, gosh, I just don't want to change anything. I don't want to screw this up. And this sort of worked, so I'm gonna keep doing it because I'm afraid what's going to happen if I change. Yeah. But and along those lines, speaking of change, is let's talk a little bit about adding new promotional concepts. We've sorted through, we've cut away what doesn't work, and now we want to think about, what do we want to do differently this year that's going to bring us more business and improve our businesses.
So you've cut the fat, and that allows you to one of my favorite analogies here is marketing is kind of like a tool belt with different tools in it. And you start off your journey in marketing and whatnot with, with your just a little kind of Home Depot tool belt that maybe you've just got a hammer in it, and you're just going to start there and focus on that. Maybe you added the saw the next year, and you're really kind of starting to get really proficient at all those things. Well, maybe this year it's time to step up and add a power drill into that whole mix. So, this trying something new and change is a good thing. And during these slow times that we're talking about here, this is a perfect time to start rolling those things out. So maybe you aren't as good at using that power tool right now. Well, during the slow times, it doesn't hurt so bad when you screw up. You can tweak those things and make it work perfectly and get it running at full speed, so to speak, and in time for your busy season to roll around. That way, like you said, Terry, when it's fall and it's time to sell sweatshirts, you really know how to sell sweatshirts at that point, so you can maximize the people that are interested in sweatshirts.
Right. Aaron, I think that's really an excellent point that you're making here, and it's especially for something that you're unfamiliar with, and maybe it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and there are little things about those types of ways to promote your businesses that you just learn as you go along, and getting your feet wet when business is slow is a great way to learn a little bit about it before you're trying to dive in the peak of your busy time. So, and jump in there and maybe get a few followers or whatever, using again Twitter as an example, that it's a good opportunity to get yourself familiarized with those types of things. But Aaron, so now we have a bit of a plan. Let's talk about putting that plan into motion. And the first thought that I had when I was, when we were talking about this third point in the promotional section of this slow time and improving our business was, what are our goals and what is it we want to achieve with these promotions we're doing? And those are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves.
A perfect kind of way to wrap this whole thing up. And the thing I always try to go back to, I think I've talked about it on this show. I think it was a little while back, but there's an author out there. His name is Simon Sinek, and he's written 2 books. His first book was a book called Start With Why. And, that really resonated with me. And I think that's the place where everybody's got to start on their marketing journey is what's the why behind this? Why are we doing this? Not just, why from a standpoint of getting new customers, but why is it that you're selling shirts? Why is it that you're promoting these things? Is it, what's the ultimate goal of your business? And I think the other thing that does for you is you could start with why. You could tell a better story to your customers, but it also gives you that kind of guiding light, something that you can make all your decisions around. So if, for example, my why is that I want to help small businesses succeed, for example, then every decision that I make along the way, I should be able to go back to that why and say, does this fit within this why? Does this ultimately help small businesses succeed? And that allows you to then focus on you and your company and not focus on your competition, because that's the other mistake that I think a lot of people will make is they're so worried about what the printer up the street is selling shirts for, or what it is that they're doing that you're not doing. And, oh my God, I got to sneak inside their shop to see what they're doing. And all I mean, I've heard all these stories that are hilarious to me, because at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, this is not a competition in that regard. You're so focused on them that you're not improving your business. And so anyhow, so I kind of going a little bit bigger off the rails here a little bit, but I think that's important with your marketing too, is that you need to have that clear goal of what you're doing. So make a clear goal for your overall marketing plan. And then also make sure that trickles down to each plan. Promotion has a clear plan as well. Um, then, excuse me, then if, you have some good idea or some new opportunity that comes up in the middle of this whole process, you can easily throw that in and then just wrap that same tracking theory and that same why statement around it and run with it.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, and Aaron, and here's something that I touched on a few minutes ago with having that schedule book that I have, that I block out everything on my for my coming year, and you do need to create that schedule, and it needs to be a physical schedule, not something in your head, and make it as much a priority as ordering products and meeting production deadlines. The promotion has got to be an integral part of your business, and not as something aside, and not something that, well, I'm really busy, so I need to cut something out, so it's going to be my marketing and promotion, because that's an enormous mistake.
That's a really good point, Terry, that this piece of your business, and you've told me this, and I've seen this throughout the years, and especially in our business, when you're out there teaching screen printing classes, for example, everybody shows up because they want to learn the technique of how do I drag that ink across the shirt. But really, at the end of the day, people fail more often because they didn't know how to be in business. They didn't know how to market. They didn't know how to sell. Not because they couldn't print a T-shirt. And there are plenty of people that can't print T-shirts that still pump out T-shirts every day. I've got numbers of them in my closet that ink's falling off. But they were able to market and sell their
Right.
goods, so they're still in business. And on the flip side of it, I've seen plenty of people that were incredible screen printers. In fact, you've got a good story about a friend of ours from way back in the day, Bob. I can't remember his last name now, but you want to share that story, Terry? And I think we've shared it on this program. But Bob was one of those guys that great printer, just not a very good marketeer.
Well, exactly right, Bob. And now you kind of tripped me too, because I cannot recall his last name as well. But award-winning printer. The things hanging in his shop were, they had gold ribbons on them from the impression shows and SGIA, and he shut his doors with stacks and stacks of purchase orders because he didn't know how to run the business. He wasn't getting paid. All of his customers were the big box stores, and they didn't care if it was net 15 or net 30. They paid you when they felt like it, and so while he was a craftsman, he didn't know how to run the business in such a way to keep it afloat. So that is a good example.
Really excuse me, have the correct target market, because he needed to be targeting people that were going to pay him.
Exactly. Well, exactly right. Exactly right. And where his focus was on being that an artist more than a business person. And you got to do it all. And Aaron, when I do my screen printing classes, day 2, we spend about 3 hours talking about business and marketing and pricing and how to sell your product and finding a niche market and basically how to be in business. And certainly 3 hours is not enough, but gosh, the people in my classes will just be writing volumes of notes there, because you can tell that they have this idea that I want to print T-shirts, but rarely does someone come in that has any real business experience.
No, for sure.
And that's going to,
it's a really good point
make
about the
or break their
scheduling
businesses.
part there, Terry, in having a physical schedule and making it a priority as much as anything else. I'd say that, you should meet about it regularly within your company, and not necessarily just with the sales and marketing people. Certainly they should be on top of it all the time and meeting about it all the time. But I would say that it's important to have a company-wide meeting about what your marketing plan is. And that does a couple things for you. It allows all of the people in your business to understand what it is that you're truly going after and who the customers are that you're going after. And shoot, their neighbor might be your best customer, and you'd never know about it unless you told, John in production about what the plan was, and he'd go, "Hey, my neighbor's that guy. Let's talk to him." And so there's one benefit of it. The other benefit of it is it helps everybody then be accountable for it. And so when Mike, the sales guy, is out there not really going after the right customers, and he comes in and John, the production guy, says, "Hey, why are we doing work for this guy? Okay, that's fine, but where's the other stuff here?" And so there's some accountability. There's some people know what's going on, and it helps to have that throughout the company. So,
right. Well, and everybody in the company is represents that company as well, and the more inclusion you have in explaining to everybody, here's who we are, and here's what we are, and here's what we do. Yeah. Makes your company that much better on every level. So
absolutely,
I would encourage.
Well,
that
Terry, I think that's been a fantastic discussion.
Business.
Thanks for letting me run with it and get the marketing stuff off my chest there. So it's been fun, and well, let's hear a quick word from our other sponsor, Pick the Gift here, and then we'll come back and wrap it up. All right, Terry. Well, so let's talk about what events you've got coming up here.
Well, I do have a class this weekend at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix. I like doing that class because I just have to hop in my car and go down there, and I'm home by 4:30, which is a rarity for me. We still actually have a couple of seats left in that class. This time of year, it's a little hot in Phoenix, but the weather's been really pleasant here lately, and so you can go to my website, which is terrycombs.com, and still sign up for that class.
A couple of spots Terry, left anyway. And the monsoons are not really all that bad there, so it's okay.
Right. we tend to make things sound like a bigger deal.
One of the other areas there. So anyway, we won't get into that.
Exactly. I'll be doing the same class at Atlas Screen Supply. My next one there will be in the fall, November 12th and 13th. I'm going to be doing an all-day Epson training seminar on August 17th. That's next Wednesday at NBM Baltimore. That's a free seminar. You can sign up for it at thenbmshow.com. It's going to be myself, Wade Rowan with Equipment Zone, Johnny Shell from SGIA will be presenting, and Matt Rome from Epson. And all my events, you can find them at terrycombs.com, and they're all listed under tour dates there. And of course, go check out my books on Amazon.com
as well.
Just
and
look
then
up
you
Terry
and I
Combs.
have our seminar coming up at SGIA, Compare and Contrast, Garment Decorating, Screen Printing, Sublimation, Direct to Garment, and Heat Transfer. It's a mouthful, but lots of good information. And I'm pretty excited that they've got us on the first day of the show instead of the last day of the show, and because I think this will be really good information for folks to kind of just give them good questions to go ask, get them ready to get out on the show floor and hopefully better understand the different things that they're going to be looking at out there when it comes to garment decorating. So I'm excited to do that. Plus, I'm excited to go back and forth with you and have some fun with it. So awesome. And then, as I said at the top of the show, we've been working pretty hard to bring together some new programming and some great guests coming on. And next week's guest, I'm really excited about. We went and looked it up the other day, and I couldn't believe how long it had been. It was November, I think October or November of 2014, the last time we talked to him. But we're going to have Mark Coudray on next week. And he's been doing some really cool things. I had an opportunity this week to talk to him on the phone about what he's been up to. And he's been doing some really cool things with his Catalyst accelerator program, some new ways of thinking about marketing and sales. And so he's going to come on, and he's going to talk to us about kind of envisioning what we'd like our business to be in the perfect world, and then maybe how we can get it there. So we're really excited.
Well, anybody who's been in the industry for any amount of time, Aaron's got to know that Mark Coudray is an industry veteran, an industry icon. So fantastic to have Mark on the show. And anybody who doesn't know Mark Coudray, you need to tune in next week and take a listen, because he will be giving us tons of great information and lots of statistics to back up his arguments.
Comes with the goods. So I'm really excited to talk to him. We've also got a show lined up, and I don't know exactly who's going to be on from their company quite yet, but it's Mobile Pod Inc. Is going to be on the show talking about mobile events, and they actually build trailers for mobile decorating. So we're going to talk to them about that, and very excited for that. So some great shows coming up here in the next few weeks, and hopefully you're enjoying them. And as we talked about, any suggestions that you have or questions or anything like that, just hit us up on our website, number2regularguys.com. And you can also find us on many of the social media channels at the number2 regular guys. And so we are excited about the future here, Terry. We got some good stuff going.
Absolutely. Looking forward to our long list of book shows into the fall, and lots of great guests, and really excited about what's happening. And here we are trying again a new way to put the show together, and we will we're going to try a few more things, and come January we're going to have it nailed down and have decided on the format
that we're going to 2.0
move into the future,
right?
With.
We're out of beta
Exactly.
into the normal, and so beta was the 30-minute shows every other week when we first started, and time to get to 2.0. Awesome. All right, Terry. Well, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I'll hopefully have kicked this cold that's been plaguing me for 2 weeks here, and sound a little better and not cough in everybody's ear.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you next week.